Hello and welcome. This is going to be my Superman 2025 review, directed by James Gunn. It's going to be a non-spoiler and spoiler-filled review, so watch out for that. I'm going to first talk about the non-spoilers and then hop right into the spoiler section. What I thought was good, what I thought was bad, what I thought was okay. Get my overall rating, I think right in between the spoiler and non-spoiler review. And yeah, as well as a little bit for it. First off, I just want to say right off the bat that I'm not a DC hater. I'm not a DCEU hater. I've always wanted to see DC succeed, no matter what it took. I thought Zack Snyder, with what he did and everything that was happening, that was fine. That it was okay. I didn't think that Man of Steel was all that great. I didn't think that. I thought BVS was a little bit better. I thought the Justice League was, in my opinion, his best movie that he directed. But overall, I didn't see where the story was going to be able to go, and obviously we all know what happened. Eventually it just all went to pieces, and James Gunn picked up what we now have as the Superman movie. Sorry to Zack Snyder that he couldn't complete his vision. Hopefully one day he's able to complete it, whether it be in a comic book or an Elseworld story. I would really like to see what he would have done. But now it's we have this movie, which is obviously a completely different tone, and you can see people online complaining from a mile away. I was going to try to get the grappler. You can see people complaining, and I'm not a complainer. I'm here for the DC. I want the DC to strive, the DC universe to strive. I would love to see a fantastical Batman. I would love to see just them having actual competition with Marvel, because it's something that should have happened a long time ago, and unfortunately it just never took off. So now we have the Superman movie, and it's finally here. I cannot believe it. It's taken so long, but it's here. It took a long time. I still remember the first day that he announced it. Now, by no means am I the biggest Superman fan in the world. I'm more of a Spider-Man and Batman guy, but I've always had a soft spot for Superman, and obviously I would want him to succeed. A movie about him really bad, because we've just never gotten him done right on the big screen. And I know people are going to get mad at that. I know people are going to say that, oh, we had Henry Cavill, but I wanted to also see the Boy Scout Superman for quite a long time, and him done justice. I think that Christopher Reeve did well for the time being, but it's been a really long time since we had anything else since. Yes, we had Smallville. Yes, we had other things, but it's been a while since we've had something like this. So let's get right into the positives of the movie and what I thought was great. Oh my goodness, what the heck? Bro. As soon as I was going to talk about the positives, this happens. Some of the positives that happened in this movie was, I think the casting was absolutely phenomenal. I think the casting of David Cornsweet as Superman is perfect. I think the casting of Lex Luthor is perfect. Nicholas Hoult. I think also Rachel, I don't remember her last name, but Lois Lane was also casted perfect. I think the central three characters of this movie are casted perfect, as well as Mr. Terrific. Nathan Fillion plays Guy Gardner. I got it all mixed up in my head. I'm very, very happy that this movie was not afraid to be a comic book movie, and it's something that has been missing from media for a long time. Something that I've been so missing from movies is comic book movies actually feeling like comic book movies, and it's something that we desperately need right now in a movie industry where they want to keep pushing out these more grounded movies in this comic book world. I don't want that. I'm so happy that James Gunn had the balls to actually jump into a comic booky world, and there's one thing that James Gunn can do right is setting up these comic book characters. He's not afraid to go full out nerd, because the guy is a huge nerd, and it's something that I haven't seen for a while, almost since, I know people keep saying this, but the Sam Raimi trilogy, and the Sam Raimi trilogy holds a dear place in my heart. It's, I think, the first true Marvel movies I've ever seen in my life. I was born in 2000. Well, I don't remember, but my family had taken me to go see Spider-Man 2 in theaters, and Spider-Man 3 in theaters, and obviously that one was just paved into my head, as well as the Dark Knight trilogy and all these other trilogies. But I'm getting sidetracked right now. What I'm basically trying to say is Superman is not afraid to be a comic book movie, just like the Raimi trilogy was, and Also, like the Across the Spider-Verse and Into the Spider-Verse movies, where they're not afraid to be comic booky and campy and exist in this world. It's an existed world. It's been around for, I think it said 3 centuries in the movie. Sorry if that was a spoiler, but it's been existing now for 3 centuries, and it feels very, very much lived in. And James Gunn had the task to make a lived in world, as well as trying to make a Superman movie, which is something that obviously, oh my god, I'm getting carried away right now. I'm not even picking up stuff. You know, that can turn some people off, obviously, because it's not going to be a central Superman movie. There are a lot of characters in this movie. I think they all play the roles very, very fine. Some of them are okay, but for the most part, they're pretty great. Oh, nice. With the material that they're given. Obviously, like I said, I already praised David Cornsweet. He is Superman. He is amazing. He did it absolutely great. It feels great seeing him from helping the smallest thing, like a freaking squirrel, to a human, to a metahuman thing, to anything. Like, he'll be there to save them. And it's the little things like that that I miss seeing in movies. Like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. He would, you know, save a random person in the streets, and the crowd would cheer him on, and they'd be there for him, and he'd be there for them. And it's little things like that that are missing from movies. That's something that I've been wanting to see from Tom Holland's trilogy for a long time. I feel like we barely get that. If any, that's a whole separate subject. Lex Luthor, also amazing, and I think, in my opinion, this has to be James Gunn's best written villain so far. And obviously he has a lot more source material to pick off of, but it really feels like he took his time studying this character and doing what he could with him. I was a little scared and skeptical because of the trailers, because it did seem like, you know, he was a bit whiny and there was things that I wasn't really looking forward to. But in the context of the movie, and same goes for David Cornsweet character, in the context of the movie, all the scenes in the trailers make sense, and I think they work well in the movie for the most part. It's just so amazing being able to see these superheroes actually be superheroes again. Superman being a beacon of hope, actually, this time. No offense to Henry Cavill, obviously, but, you know, there wasn't a lot of saving in that movie. Maybe like the family in the end of the freaking movie. I guess screw everyone else, because that's what happened. I'm not gonna try to spoil anything, but there was this beautiful scene in the movie, like something that I absolutely loved, and probably like a top 3 moment of the movie for me was him saving a freaking squirrel. A squirrel, the smallest of beings, dude. No matter what it is, Superman was there to save whatever was around, whatever he could. He was always there to save them, and it just felt beautiful to see that on screen, portrayed so well, in my opinion. And this world, it feels so lived in. Like, I'm sorry that I keep picking from the Raimi trilogy, but it's just a fact that, you know, it feels like it's not just an NPC world, but it's an actual lived in worlds. Little characters like Joey Diaz, bro. Joey Diaz, little character. But you know what I mean? Like, the characters, they're not just NPCs, they're real people living in this world. And it just feels amazing, but it also feels like, why are you living there, bro? Like, I get that there was, like, you know, metahumans and all this stuff in this world living for centuries now, but move. But yeah, it's awesome seeing the crowd help Soups. It's also awesome of him to save the most smallest thing, and I feel like I've been ranting for this for a while, so I'm gonna move on. Other positives that I have: the visuals were absolutely stunning. The action set pieces, which I'll put together, because the visuals and action set pieces were gorgeous. They were so dope. Amazing action. It was just so good. Like, the way that the camera moves around and the colors just pop, it just feels like a comic book brought to life, like, actually. And it just looks and feels so, what the heck? It just looks and feels so good. Like I said, the visuals are absolutely stunning. They are great. They are awesome. I know it's not going to be for everyone. It really is not, because I can see people easily complaining about them right now, saying that it looks a bit like The Flash, and I can see where those complaints do come from. Ooh. There are a couple scenes that look a bit, you know, interesting, to say the least. Overall, I think it just looks amazing, especially the flying scenes. Oh my god, the flying scenes are so dope. They're actually just so amazing, so awesome. Over the top action. It's like, I feel like it's the most that James has ever been able to do. And this in the movie is scattered, and everything serves well to the story, in my opinion. so great, visually breathtaking. Obviously, there's some wonky scenes, like I said, but overall, it is very, very fun to the eye to watch. And I'm not gonna spoil anything. I think I already talked a little bit positive about this guy, but Mr. Terrific absolutely stole one of the scenes. He did really, really, really. He had a great scene in the movie, and he did really well. And I want to see more of him. I'm not sure when we're gonna see more of him. Maybe in Peacemaker season 2. There's a scene in the movie that he has, and it's like a top 3 scene from the movie in terms of action. Just, you'll know what I mean once you get to it. It's fucking awesome. You know, a lot of people are scared that this movie's going to be over convoluted and there's a lot going on, and a part of that is true. It is a little bit messy and it is a little bit over convoluted, but for the most part, I think it works, and I understand why it has to be the way that it is, because this guy has the task of building a brand new universe. Like I said, I'm sure it's freaking hard. Like, he had to come up with all this stuff, just put it all into one movie, and for the most part, it works. I'd say about 80 to 90% of it works. But, you know, then it gets a little sloppy here and there, but, you know, it's pretty good. The relationship between Clark and Lois is also amazing. It's great. So there's not too much of it in the movie, but the parts that are in there are very nice. It feels good to see, you know, a good love interest, I guess. It's very short, and we're pretty sure we'll see more of it in the future, obviously. But yeah, I'm not going to talk too much about that. Not really what I'm very interested in. Maybe to you gooners. The mixed. I think the CGI is a bit off at points, especially towards the third act. I'm not going to really talk about it. Obviously, in the third act, there's going to be a big action set piece. There's a little bit of it in the trailers that people were complaining about, the flash looking ones, and it goes on for a bit. You know, I think they had a VFX artist had some time to fix it all up, but, you know, I don't want to completely, you know, shut them down, because I know they have to meet impossible deadlines or anything and everything, but there are a couple wonky looking CGI scenes. It isn't anything that really takes me out of the movie, I say. It's more of a nitpick. I can understand why some people, you know, it's the end of the world to them when they see frickin', I don't know, like Superman looking a little bit more like a game than an actual movie. And if that turns you off, then there are some scenes like that at the end of the movie. But for me, it didn't completely take me off. That's why I said I'm kind of mixed on it. I feel like I'm already used to it. I'm already numb to it. Marvel with, I think, you know, one of the best examples, the last Ant-Man movie and Love and Thunder. That was horrible. No, especially Ant-Man. Oh my god, I don't even want to talk about it. At the end of the day, I'll always love Marvel because it's what I grew up on and everything. So even if, you know, Phase 5 was just okay. Oh, he's still alive. Oh no, it's a freaking bot. I don't think I've killed a real guy so far. A bit more of the negatives. I feel like the pacing is a bit off. I feel like sometimes it goes a little slow, then sometimes it picks up a little bit. I don't think it's completely sorry, I don't know if I said bad, but I meant to say mixed, because, you know, it's a little all over the place. Sometimes it goes a little slow, sometimes it goes a little quick, and if sometimes it feels like all over the place. I don't think it's, you know, horrible, but it's here and there, and it is, you know, a bit noticeable. It's more like nitpicks. Bad of the movie is, and this is going to be for, again, another nitpick and something more for Snyder Bros and the people who just do not like James Gunn. If you're expecting this movie to not be James Gunn, this is the most James Gunn's been James Gunn, bro. Say that 3 times. He definitely, you can definitely tell that this is a James Gunn movie. The only thing I will say is that the score, and I forgot to add this in my positives, the score of this movie was actually pretty good. I thought it was pretty good. I love how they mixed a bit of the John Williams score into the movie. Still mixed with an original score, but it just felt so weird because the movie felt like such a James Gunn movie, and I think he said this is the first time he's actually used a score for a movie instead of a, you know, playlist or soundtrack, whatever. And it just feels really weird. I don't know if it's because, you know, I've already watched so many James Gunn's movies that you're just, you know, more used to hearing a bit of The Rock and all that stuff. And trust me, there is a couple moments like that. But, you know, as far as the bad, like, if you're expecting this to not be a James Gunn movie, like I said, it is James Gunn to the fullest. So do not expect this to not be a James Gunn movie. I think the humor is okay. I don't think like there's anything that made me, you know, burst out laughing and dying. Maybe like a couple of good chuckles, but there's nothing like crazy. You already know how James Gunn humor is. you'll know what to expect. It isn't over the top though, I'll say. There aren't like anything over the top besides, you know, a couple scenes, but you know, just something for you Snyder bros. If you're expecting this to even be close to Man of Steel, nope, it's a complete 180, 360, whatever the hell, 180. It is not the same at all. It is a completely different vibe. It's a completely different everything. And you will dislike this movie if you are not looking for the campy and or lighthearted Superman. There are a couple badass scenes, I will say that, and you know, it's awesome and stuff. But if you like Batman, I mean, sorry, Jesus Christ, see what Snyder did. If you like those like more brooding like Superman scenes, you're not gonna really get that here. Not by Superman himself, at least. Oh my goodness. Oh. Ooh, nice shots. No, you were going after the wrong guy, dude. You're going after the wrong guy, dude. Oh my god, it's so annoying, bro. I was focused on the game right now and not focused on what I'm saying. I would absolutely dog walk this guy, no cap. Really hate that I got third part. Look at him, bro. Look at him, bro. It's always these guys, bro. Oh my god. This is what I think of the movie. I think it was a pretty good movie. I'm not sure if I had to say necessarily that it was a great movie, but it was pretty good. I think I'd give it an 8 out of 10. I'm feeling a little confident that I might need to re-see it again. I don't know if it'll change. It might get it even a little bit higher after a second watch now that I know what happened and everything. But, you know, expect a campy, fun movie. It's definitely a fun movie. It's a good movie. It's fun and good movie. If you're expecting something that isn't full-on James Gunn, that isn't even a bit of James Gunn, you're going to be disappointed. I'm telling you right now, do not even go see the movie. You're going to be disappointed. I'm feeling pretty confident in the 8s. I was a little bit more towards a 7 when I was first thinking about it, but, you know, after time and thinking and everything and letting it process through my brain and everything, I'm going more with an 8, and it can even go a little bit higher than that, but I'm feeling pretty confident in my 8 to an 8.5, maybe. So I realized that I cannot simultaneously task at all. I am very bad at it. I cannot do it for the life of me. So right here, I'm just gonna go talk about a little bit of spoilers now. Go a little bit more in depth about what I like, what I didn't like, and all that stuff. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So more things that I liked. Oh my god, Lex Luthor was awesome in this movie. Like I said, he was very much, he's like high evolutionary, just on steroids. Obviously, James Gunn now is able to, you know, work with more well-known characters and all that, and not really do his own thing, but also like establish a little bit, go back a little bit, and you know, check what's already established for Lex Luthor and all of that. And you know, just you know, pick from the source material, but also do his little own spin on it. And it's just an evil character, some guy that you just want to see locked up. And obviously, at the end of the movie, he gets locked up, and it was awesome to see him, you know, get locked up after all the heinous stuff that he did. He literally beat up his fucking girlfriend, bro. Like, what the fuck? This guy's crazy, bro. He was just, you know, he was a hater, dude. Like, bro did not care about anything. He was just a hater, a D1 hater, dude. D1 hater, and I'm a D1 glazer. Yeah, bro was crazy, dude. He was off for Superman the whole freaking movie, and I loved it. I think he did great. He was sarcastic, crazy, manipulative. Well, I don't even know what else, bro. Like, what can I say? He was a great villain, and I hope and wait to see more of him, because he was, even though I'm praising him a lot, he was a bit one-dimensional. He definitely just seemed like evil for the sake of evil. But you know, we already know for the most part how Lex, you know, like, he just has to exist for Superman. He hates Superman. He's like, you know what I mean? Like, Superman's like this all perfect guy and just shows up and takes over. So I guess it makes sense for his character. Hopefully we see more of him. Obviously, I'm pretty sure we will in the future. He's just locked up for now, but we'll see where it goes from here on out. David Cornstar's Superman was awesome. His action scenes were just so dope. Like, all the scenes that, you know, that he had in the movie, like all the action set pieces, just so great. Like, seeing him use his ice breath and, you know, his laser vision and the way he flies around, the way that he does things is just so amazing. Like, this is a vulnerable Superman that we don't really get to see a lot. You know, we always see OP Superman, but it feels good to see a year 3 Superman who is still finding his footing. In the beginning of the movie, I think they established that he just lost his first fight to the Hammer Bravi, I think it was. I'm pretty sure it was. And it just feels good to be able to see that this isn't a Superman that is just, you know, going to be able to beat up everyone and everything. You know, he's still establishing himself. He does get his ass beat quite a lot in this movie. It's kind of insane. It doesn't feel like he really does much, and I really wish they would have, leaned a bit. I really wish, this is one of my complaints. I feel like James Gunn could have leaned a little bit more into, the powerful side of Superman. He obviously does a couple things, but for the most part, Superman is getting a whooping in this movie. Obviously, they say that this is the first time that he's lost, but since the first time that he's lost, it really feels like he just keeps getting beat down after beat down after beat down. And obviously it's because Lex is the mastermind behind all of this to Hammer Bravia, the clone Ultraman, who we have end up finding out is David Cornsweat, obviously as a clone. And it was a little disappointing, in the theater. I'm pretty sure we were all expecting Henry Cavill to show up as this evil clone of Superman. I think that would have been awesome, but it's okay. And that is one of my disappointments and gripes of the movie. I feel like they could have made him the evil Superman in this case, but unfortunately he wasn't, which is fine because, they kind of made that was Ultraman, if you know what I mean. So Ultraman was a little sped, according to Lex, a little bit more sped than Superman, according to Lex. Yeah, Ultraman was cool. Obviously, that whole little fight scene was cool. Action pieces were awesome. Like I said, I saw Soup say that it was very reminiscent of you guys watched Transformers movie, Transformers 3, The Dark of the Moon, where it feels like the action, like the third act is full on action after action set piece and all that. And it does kind of feel like that in some sense. And it is very fun to watch. Crypto was awesome. He was in the movie, scattered around the movie, nothing too crazy. You know what I mean? This is very much a Superman movie, though. Like, I know people want to say that there's a lot of characters in here, but at the end of the day, it is very much a Superman movie. They have series little side subplots going on, but at the end of the day, it all centers around Superman. One scene where Lex is aura farming in the Fortress of Solitude, it just felt crazy when they were in there, and I actually felt so bad for the robots and everything, and them just getting beat down after beat down, and then Crypto just slides in, and like, you know what I mean, like if you've seen like the little clips and stuff, you see where he like slide kicks or like punches what's her name, I can't even think of her name right now, the nanotech girl. I literally cannot think of her name right now, which she was fine as well, but the scene right afterwards where Crypto gets hit or something, like she throws some of those nanites to his face and like kind of like slaps him, I was like, damn, dude, like I don't know, bro. That hits me in the gut because I got like a dog and some cats and stuff, a couple cats, and I'm a very, very big avid animal lover. So seeing any animal hurt just hits you in the gut, And for being a James Gunn movie, there aren't too much emotional scenes, but there also is. You know what I mean? Like if you're an actual true comic book enjoyer and an enjoyer of Superman, and in general just comic book characters, and like I talked about the good that the Superman does, when you see little moments like him getting helped from you know what I mean, like the little guys, like the one guy in the beginning of the movie who helped him out, who helped pick him up, who ended up dying, and halfway through the movie it kind of hits you in the gut because it's like, you know what I mean? Like you put yourself into those shoes and you just see the good in this character, and now they have to witness all this stuff happen. Which, by the way, Metamorpho, another character that I didn't expect to like find like great, but I actually really liked him in the movie as well. When he started, like, there's more like little emotional scenes. I really wish there was even more of them, but they're scattered around the movie, like everywhere. Like the Superman, the little kid screaming Superman, another great emotional scene. Paul Kent's talking to Superman. Clark. Another scene that's very emotional, very, very beautiful. I lied. There is a couple of good emotional scenes in the movie, but there's nothing crazy that really, really jams you in the freaking gut. I think for the most part, it's just scattered throughout the movie, and James Gunn knows how to do that best. And by the way, Pa Kent did not die. He made it out of this movie alive. I couldn't believe it. I actually couldn't believe it. I thought he was gonna either be, dead or like freaking get finessed in like the end of the third act. It's crazy. He's still here, so we'll see what happens with him. But he's still here, bro. He's still here for now. I think that they retcon. I don't really think they've really done this in comics. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but bro, Superman's OG parents wanted bro to rule Earth on some invincible Omni-Man type ish. It's kind of crazy, bro. It's kind of crazy. It was a retcon. I saw the leaks, I don't know how many weeks ago or anything. There's a lot of leaks that happened a couple weeks ago or months ago that ended up being all true, by the way, which was crazy to me. And I'm going to get into like some of the negative stuff that I did not like about this movie because I couldn't really talk about that in the non-spoiler section of this video. But damn, dude, like there was a couple things that happened like that, or that I talked about, which basically it being a retcon that his parents basically sent him there to rule Earth. And I feel like they kind of just skipped over it at the end of the movie. I know it was like a big plot point that happened, and the whole like him getting the can thrown to his freaking back of his head. The whole reason that ever happened, and the whole entire reason he got locked up and all of that, was because he surrendered himself. And it turns out he was like, what the heck? You know what I mean? Like, if I missed something, I could be just slow, and you know what I mean? Like, it could have just ended up being made up. But Mr. Terrific said in the middle of the movie, he said that like the people, these forensic people who like analyzed like whatever, deciphered his Kryptonian language of his parents, said that there's no way they could have gotten that wrong, and it was true what his parents said, that because you know what I mean, like in the beginning of the movie it was only like half of whatever, which by the way it was played by Bradley Cooper. I cannot think of the names right now. I'm sorry. It's literally like 1 a.m. right now. I'm tired as hell. But his dad, he sent them there, and Superman only had half of whatever was said there. And in the first half, he had said to him that, you know, he was sent to Earth to protect the people and all this, blah, blah, blah. But in the other half that he didn't have, which is what Lex and I can't think of her name right now, but she decoded it. She was able to decode it, get the rest of the footage, and it turns out that they said that he was sent there to rule the Earth. And I can see some people getting mad about that. Personally, it didn't bother me all that crazy, but if they sent him there to rule the Earth, that's kind of crazy, because you know what I mean? Like, once we see what's his name, General Zod and all of that stuff, bro, if they ever show up or whatever, it's going to be crazy. And now it'll be making more sense for, like, you know, why like he had to like rule over the Earth and all that stuff. But it didn't happen. Superman is a great character. He's a happy character, and maybe that's what Henry Cavill's Superman was gonna do. He was gonna rule over the Earth. I want to talk about a bit more positive stuff, but I want to start talking a bit about the negatives and some of the things that I didn't like. There's a little like ongoing thing that James Gunn likes to self-insert a lot. And you know what I mean? I don't really notice it too much. I don't really try to pay attention to it too much. Some people say he's like basically written himself as Superman, because obviously, you know, he wrote Crypto to be a different dog, the type of dog breed that he has. And obviously, like, that's why he made him a little bit more like a mutt that's like attacking and attacking and attacking. And by the way, I love the scene at the end of the movie when, you know, Lex is talking his shit, and then this gift for freaking Crypto just freaking starts like gnawing on him and like tossing him around and stuff. That was awesome. That was an awesome payoff to the end of that movie. But you know, some people didn't like that change, but who cares? You know, little things like that I don't really care, like the change of the freaking dog species. Like, I get if you're a purist or whatever, but it's not that big of a deal, bro. It's a freaking dog. Another thing that I saw was obviously James Gunn. You know, a couple years ago, he was canceled because of some old tweets that had happened, some old things that he said. And, you know, in the leaks a couple weeks ago, or I'm not really sure where I saw it, I forgot, but they were saying that basically he had basically self-inserted himself and added cancel culture as part of the film, which was Lex Luthor. Basically, he hired all these little tiny like monkeys or chimps or whatever the heck to write down hashtag super shit, hashtag, you know what I mean, like all these little things, and like writing bad things, like basically they're all programmed to write bad things about Superman in this little pocket dimension that they're in. And I read it and I thought it was like so BS, because I was like, oh, there's no way they put that in the movie, and they did, and that was crazy. And I don't think it was, you know, the worst thing I've ever seen in my life, but I just couldn't believe that was true. And that was a little bit one of the cases where it did feel like a bit of a self-insertion. Maybe, you know, to teach his own. And, you know, I can understand why if you're not the biggest fan of James Gunn or all that. That's why I tried to say in the beginning that if you're not a James Gunn guy, do not expect to like this movie. It's not going to change your opinion on him. It definitely still has some of those beats in there. And yeah, That was one of the things. And then obviously, like I just talked about, with the whole Jarrell and all that stuff, his parents being basically like telling him like, bro, rule the earth, dude. I'm freaking Omni-Man, bro. I'm gonna drop my balls on the earth, dog. But he, obviously doesn't know how to play it out. The negatives, I think there's a couple of little over the top moments. It doesn't really pull me out of the movie all that much because I know this is an established world. There's like stuff like Baby Joey, which is what's his name, Metamorpho's son, and it's just like the CGI was so bad on him. He was like the worst CGI. When I was talking about the CGI, I was mainly talking about him because the CGI on him was pretty bad. But like it's a freaking alien baby, dude. Like what can you do? Like it's a little bit expected, but it just feels like I feel like there could have been a little bit more time in the chamber. And in general, in the third act, the CGI is a bit sloppy and very reminiscent of the Flash movie. And I don't think it was completely bad. It didn't completely take me out, but I can see why that would turn off some people. So I just have the need to mention that, but that just feels more like nitpicks at this point. But man, was this movie fun? I don't really think I have a lot more negatives to say, other than a couple of those things. Like I said, the super shit thing and the Jarrell's change and all this stuff that had happened. But overall, the movie was still great. There was nothing that, completely took me out of the movie like that. Like I said, but the positives are there. This is a hopeful Superman. This is a little bit of a campy Superman, a very much campy movie. But man, like I think top three moments for the movie for me are number one. I can't believe I'm saying this, but saving a squirrel. It just shows how much he cares about life and how much he cares about the littlest things that you wouldn't really think about in situations like this. There's like buildings and like huge things going on, and he saves the littlest of life, which is a freaking squirrel. Probably like a top three scene for me in the whole entire movie. Number two, obviously like him saving people in general and the crowd being there for him getting help from people, just like those Joey Diaz moments and those moments in general in Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3, where like the crowd, it really just feels lively. It feels like so lively and so lived in, and this universe is just so established so well. And I get like some people might not like it too much because it is a lot thrown in your face at once, and it's just the beginning of this universe, so he kind of has to already establish it. But I feel like I said, this is why I feel like it needs a second rewatch, because now that you rewatch it, you like know all these things, like okay, this is an established universe and all this, and I feel like I'll even like it more. I might even bump it to an 8.5 or a 9. I don't think it's perfect by any means. I don't think I'm gonna give it a 10 by any means, because like I said, I had some little issues, more nitpicks, but I'm leaning more towards an 8. When I first came out, it was more like a 7. Now that I'm home, I thought about it a lot more. It's definitely more of an 8. And it was a fun movie. It was a very, very fun ride. I definitely do want to rewatch it. I want to see it in Dolby. I watched it in Cinemark XD, unfortunately, because those were the only tickets open for the Amazon screening. Another positive I just want to say real quick is Mr. Terrific was awesome. His little action scene is like one of the only parts. There's like the 2 parts that I remember where James actually used a bit more of like the, like where he likes to insert his own music and stuff. Only like 2 scenes in the movie, which is obviously the very ending of the movie, which some people might get turned off by as well, because it's a little bit of rock theme for Superman when he's looking at his parents and stuff. But the Mr. Terrific scene, where obviously they're like listening to music, the people in for the Luthor people, the people that he has hired, they're guarding wherever the hell he has his dimensional thing or whatever. And it's that one scene in the trailer where he has like the orb around him and stuff, but it's like around actually Lois, and those little like spheres, or she likes to call it circles, but the spheres, the T-spheres, these just start like knocking out everyone, and it's like a quick like 360 scene, and it's one of the best scenes in the movie. I don't even think I finished my top 3. I'm so slow, but that was also part of my top 3 moments of the whole movie. That was awesome. A little bit of my negatives, I just wish, like I said, really, really, really do wish we saw Superman being a little bit more overpowered. And I get that he wants to make him a little bit more vulnerable, but there should have been scenes like, I feel like he was just getting beat too much, especially by Ultraman. Like I get that Lex has studied him and all that stuff, but I feel like I know he ended up oversmarting him, and that whole like brute scene where like he grabbed him and he slammed him and he ended up dying, the freaking clone of himself. But man, I wish we would have seen a little bit more of that, a little bit more. We saw one scene in the trailer that people keep saying it looks like the Flash, where he knocks out the guy's teeth, bounces off the camera, which is awesome. and then like the laser scene that happens after that, you know what I mean? Just like a quick little montage right before they get to Lex. That was so awesome. All that whole entire scene, and like it just feels so comic booky, and it's so awesome to see. And now that I'm talking about it more, I want to give it a higher rating, but I'm gonna stick with my 8 for now. In the comments, I'll end up putting, if I end up rewatching it anytime soon or at sometime this week. I'm trying to find the date right now, but I might up the score. But I'm sitting confidently at an 8, and I think right now at Rotten Tomatoes like an 86 or something. And yes, it is sitting at an 86 with 147 reviews. If you can even, that camera can even freaking pick that up. At the time of this recording, that can change. Obviously, it will change because people are going to be reviewing it more. I'm excited to see what the popcorn meter is at for this movie. And, you know, I don't want to, you know, Rotten Tomatoes is very much hit or miss, so I don't want to just base my opinion on that. But it's pretty accurate, I say. As far as if this is a top 10 comic book movie, that's really hard to say. Obviously, as a comic book movie, this is the most comic book you're going to get, at least in live action, because we're not going to even discuss Into and Beyond. Beyond, I keep saying Beyond, Across the Spider-Verse, that's in a whole different league by itself. But in terms of in live action comic book movie, this is the most comic book you're gonna get. So it's not gonna be in the top 10 movie of all time by any means. Maybe for some people, but for me personally, it's not. And in terms of if it's in my top 10 comic book movies, I feel like it might just get there. I don't know if I like it more than I liked, like Guardians 3 or even the Suicide Squad, but I have to rewatch it. I might like it a bit more than the Suicide Squad because I really did like the Suicide Squad. Like I said, I mentioned earlier in this video, I think, or if I didn't or cut it off, I had said that I think the Suicide Squad is my favorite James Gunn movie of all time. It was just because I was like James Gunn being able to do what the hell he wanted, and you know what I mean? Like, he didn't have to really rely on anything other than just doing what he already knows best. And with a rated R film, it was awesome. And like something that he couldn't really go all the way with Guardians. And even though I do appreciate and love Guardians 1 and 3, 2 was a little bit of a hit or miss. It's in between. I don't know if I'm going to put it at the best yet because, you know, I have to watch it and I just watched it. So I can't just automatically put it at the top. But I can see why somebody would think so. The Suicide Squad over it just by a smudge. Like I said, that could change, and I'm gonna rewatch it probably over and over again, like probably like 10 times to the point that I'm like, oh yeah, it might be my favorite James Gunn movie. And as far as like top 10 comic book movies, probably is, but I'm gonna put it very much in like the bottom, like closer to the 10 range right now. Than I'm feeling confident in it being in the top like 5. That could change, obviously. Like I said, it's too early to tell. Just like with music, just like with any other movie you watch, you gotta rewatch it, you gotta let it digest, you gotta, you know, all this stuff, because you can't just judge it solely off this one watch. You just gotta like sink in. If you really love it, if you really love the love and care put in for these characters, or in music, the love that people, our favorite artist puts into the music, you gotta rehear it or you gotta rewatch it a couple times to really understand. Now that I keep talking about it, it's like, damn, I really want to rewatch it again. And let me know if you guys want to see more of this type of content. I'm obviously going to see Fantastic Four opening weekend. I'm very excited for that. Another great movie that I'm looking forward to. But this was my most anticipated movie of the year. Obviously, being a nerd, it's only right. I want to see the DC succeed, and I hope it succeeds. And I'm very excited to see what else is left in this world. And a couple other things I forgot to talk about before I shut down this video is the 2 cameos in the movies, which is number 1, Peacemaker, which I thought was hilarious. I really like that scene in the movie where he showed up. Like, again, if you don't like what James Gunn has done, you're not gonna like that scene. But I love what he did with this movie and everything. And I thought seeing Peacemaker, one of my favorite new characters that he introduced to us, which obviously like barely anybody knew. Awesome, great character, and I'm so excited to see season 2 of that. And then number 2, then the second cameo that showed up in this movie was Supergirl. And you know what I mean, James has talked about a little bit of Supergirl, and they're obviously basing it off the Woman of Tomorrow comic, and I just really like how he already had, you know, just slightly showed this side of her that we have not seen in any media really, which is like the drunk frat girl type of style of her, and we have not seen that anywhere really. You know, we just basically see another freaking clone of Superman when we see Supergirl. So it's about time that we see something different. And it sounds like she's going to be going planet to planet. And obviously Lobo's going to be in her movie. And I'm pretty sure Crypto now, because he told her that she was going there to pick up Crypto. She calls Clark a bitch and dips. It's crazy. It was a good scene. It was hilarious. It was awesome. And I'm very, very looking forward to her movie now. Seeing what somebody else does with a Superman IP character. I'm here for it, bro. You know, and if you didn't like this one, the next movie is directed by Greg Gillespie. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. He definitely has a decent resume, is what I'll say. And you know, if you weren't the biggest fan of what James Gunn did with this movie, making it over the top and comic booky, pretty sure this guy isn't gonna go any too different. Because obviously he's gonna be jumping from world to world supposedly. But you know what I mean? It's gonna be a different style. Maybe you'll enjoy that more. Credit scenes, nothing crazy happened. You know, it was just really quick. The first post-credit scene was literally just Superman, Crypto being on a planet. I mean, being on the moon, looking at Earth. Nice, you know what I mean? If you see the posters, you know what I mean. Throw it up on screen now if I find it. And then the second post-credit scene is just Superman and Mr. Terrific picking up after the destruction. And, you know, Superman makes a quick joke about how Mr. Terrific did not put together a certain part of the building right. It was just a quick joke, you know what I mean? James Gunn had mentioned that he didn't want to put any false promises in the post-credit scenes like he did with Adam Warlock or all that stuff, and like he feels like he needed to live up to something that he didn't want to do. So little post-credit scenes like that, you know, doesn't really add much, but they're just there. So tell me, what did you think of Superman? Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Are you planning to see it? Please tell me your reviews. Please tell me what I could work on. You know what I mean? I always appreciate feedback. Yeah, tell me what you thought about it. Please, again, give me a like, sub. I would very much appreciate it. Let me know if I should do more of these types of reviews. Fortunately, it was like a half Fortnite video. More so me yapping, but that's what I thought about the movie. I appreciate it a lot. Thank you, Lamar Jackson. Edit.